Chapter 3. My hands stay folded in my lap as my carriage barrels away from Slaggleborg. The rain has cleared, leaving the air crisp and smelling of wet earth. We hit enough mud puddles that Mistress Marham draws the curtains over the windows, bringing more darkness to this farewell. We roll past lands that could be mountain, plain, or sea, for all I know. My servant, Vivietta, plaited my white hair one last time, though not a soul will see it. I wear my favorite gown, the crimson one with long flared sleeves to cover my clasped, trembling hands. I hear the horses slop through the mud. I hear the soldiers' conversations outside our carriage. But Ryder is not among them. I will never speak to Mistress Marham again. I will never forgive her for denying me that goodbye. Then again, what could I have said? How could I have thanked Ryder for this last year, for the void he filled? We could not have lived a long life together. I am not allowed such choices. I just never dreamed our separation would come so soon. Closing my eyes, I push thoughts of Ryder away. It is safer this way, especially since everyone that I love seems to die. I loved my mother, and she died giving birth to an unnamed girl a few years ago. I loved my brothers, and bloodless Kristoff has murdered every one of them. In my own childish way, I even loved Prince Jarek of Kronga, and he died right before my eyes. Goodness, if I truly love Ryder, I must not love him. There, I have decided. I do not love Ryder. As if it were that easy. I think back to a month ago, when Ryder and I were walking the shore of the lake. I was feeling a bit poetic that day and said, "You know, Ryder, you and I are like rocks and trees. We share the same soil, yet live entirely different lives." I thought it was a brilliant observation, but Ryder only looked confused. But instead of admitting he did not understand, he made a joke out of it. "Are you saying I'm as dumb as a rock, Jisa?" "Yes," I said, and we both laughed. I never explained, but as I ride away from him, it feels truer than ever. Ryder and I are like the rocks and trees, only we no longer share the same soil. We will not even share the same country. Who will make me laugh now? My head pounds with each bounce of the carriage. What is wrong with me? My little brother is dead at the hands of the Krongan demon. Is there nothing more pressing for my thoughts? Breaking my oath to never speak to Mistress Marham again, I turn. Did bloodless Kristoff leave a blue handprint on Arnbjorn's body? "Wrong language," Meestrom says. Annoyed, I repeat my question, spitting out every Tuknovian consonant. "Yes," she says. A chill runs down my arms. And Arnbjorn's heart?" "Missing, like the others." I wince, picturing Arnbjorn's small body cut open. It is the insult of the highest to deny the red heirs their right to a red death. Yet, after cutting out their hearts, bloodless Kristoff has left a blue-blooded handprint on each of my brother's corpses. Not even a full handprint, for it is missing the tips of the fingers like his deformed hands. Possessed with 70 times 7 devils and standing 8 feet tall, they say bloodless Kristoff descends from pure Viking stock. With no blood of his own, he must steal others, and he prefers royal blood to all other blood. A true demon. My nightmares are sure to multiply. Usually Kristoff's severed fingers, already covered in the blood of my veins, squeeze the air from my throat. I always plead with him in Krongan. How I wish I did not speak his language, for it makes the nightmares so much worse. Softly, I stroke the blue veins beneath the skin of my wrist. How does bloodless Kristoff extract our blue blood? She huffs. "No more reading Master Neffin's books. You bleed red like everyone else." "How do you explain the blue handprints, then?" "Dye, paint, anything to defile Arnold's sons with Kronga's color." I do not believe her. Even my father's letters have called the blood blue. Shivering, I pull my traveling cloak tighter around me. It is terrifying to think that, had my first betrothal not failed, bloodless Kristoff would now be my army commander, and I might be as barbaric as Queen Cilicia. We hit an especially large bump, splashing drops of mud behind the drawn curtain. Meestrum pounds the wall of our carriage. "Fool!" she calls. "Learn how to steer, or I will find another to take your place." The driver does not respond, which is wise. One should never underestimate Mistress Marham. While she is shorter than me, older than sin, and half the size of any soldier, it would not surprise me if she marched out there, yanked the driver off his seat, and bit off his nose. "At this rate," she seethes, "we will miss the betrothal tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" My stomach knots. "How soon will I marry King Luther?" "Soon." Soon meaning 5 years, or soon meaning 5 months? After all, soon is a vague word. Oh, no need to start hyperventilating. My wedding to Prince Jarek was scheduled 7 years after our betrothal, which seemed like a perfect amount of time. "You shall marry King Luther within the week." I stare at her. Her brows lift. "You should be pleased. I thought you would never marry." If only. I suddenly wish I had a portrait of King Luther. 10 years ago, the Krongen court sent me a portrait of Prince Jarek that I had stared at for hours, or rather, I stared at Jarek's light hair. To my young mind, God had misplaced me with the Reds, but found me an alternative people with fair-haired Krongens to the north. Obviously, a portrait of King Luther would not tell me anything vital, like if he is a bloodthirsty murderer. Still, I would hate to react poorly should his face resemble, say, a shrew. Honestly, I do not care what he looks like, so long as he has all his teeth. Is that too much to hope for? A husband with all his teeth? "How old is King Luther?" I ask. 2 years younger than your father," Meestrum says. "He is 40? I groan. That is over double my age. He will definitely be missing teeth. Then again, it is not as if King Luther is getting a gem in return. Excluding my odd coloring, Meestrum calls my facial features awkward. Once, on an uncharacteristically daring day, I asked Ryder if I was pretty. I desperately wanted him to see beyond my narrow-set eyes and the coloring that hides me in a snowstorm. All he said was, "You're kind of shocking at first, but I've gotten used to you. Besides, you don't need beauty to make you attractive. You've got a crown for that." At my horrified gasp, Ryder burst out laughing and said he was only teasing. But he never corrected himself. I suppose he loves me despite my strange features, just like I love him despite his atrocious grammar. I pray Luther the Great will do the same, even though his previous queen was supposedly beautiful, an exotic princess from Slavic lands. How unfair. Meestrum slaps my leg. "Do not slouch either." "Goodness, have I taught you nothing?" I rub away the sting, even more furious at her. My posture had been perfect already, and I had a sore back to prove it. But instead of shouting at her, I conjure up my sweetest, most childlike voice, the one that irritates her. "If I am not allowed to slouch on long rides, why even be a queen?" "To bear sons, many sons." She crosses herself. "Pray your Vendishk is fruitful." "Vendishk?" "Womb," she translates. This is what I get for breaking my oath to never speak to her again. Perhaps I am the one who is dumb as a rock. These questions have only made me feel worse. Sitting back, I decide the less I know of my future, the better. But I cannot stop thinking about it. Am I ready to be Luthar's wife? To bear him sons? The less I know, I chant to myself, the better. I wind a stray red thread around my fingers. Well, I hope to have daughters. Many daughters. Trust me, you only want sons. Like she would know. My mother found her in a convent, not a nursery. I'm probably the only child she has spoken to in her life, including her own childhood. I bet Mistress Marham spent her adolescence telling her own mother to stand up straighter. Her beady eyes narrow, making me wonder if she can hear my thoughts. Obviously not, or I would spend more time in trouble. You shall keep your sons, she says coolly. But your daughters shall be sent to distant lands to secure political alliance with little chance of you seeing them again. As I said, Highness, pray for sons. It is hard to argue with her logic when I am the living proof of it. Still, I like to imagine my mother enjoyed the few years we had together. She herself came from a family of girls and never saw another sister or family member again after she came to Steinland. So perhaps I shall want a few sons, but I will never admit as much. Queens hold their kingdom's futures in their Vendisht, Mistrum says in Toknovian, a language I dislike more by the second. Powerful kingdoms are forged from queens who bear many sons. Your mother birthed 7, 4 of whom lived past infancy. May you have the same good fortune. King Luther has no viable heirs, and Queen Silesia only has Prince Diedrich, who is plenty old to reign. Why has she not relinquished the throne? Perhaps he truly is weak of spirit and boots. Boots? I repeat, confused. Mistrum looks taken aback. I realize her mistake before she does, and it is enough to make me smile. I cannot recall a single tutoring session she has missed. 6 languages, and she speaks them as well as I do. The 2 Toknovian words are similar, yet Master Ragnenbalder is quite fond of his boots. I cannot pass up a chance to point out her rare mistake. Does Queen Silesia's son refuse to wear boots? I ask innocently. Or did you mean to say that Prince Diedrich is weak of spirit and body? Sniffing, she faces front again. You must bear sons for Luther quickly, before Queen Silesia relinquishes the crown. As she drones on, I cannot help but think that if sons equal strength, our kingdom should have been the dominant of the 3. Yet in a few short years, bloodless Kristoff has wiped out our entire future. From my vantage point, armies and their savage commanders matter more than sons, and kings more than queens' wombs. Am I the only one who realizes how insignificant my womb is? Womb. I loathe that word, even in my own language. Pain grows in my spine as the carriage barrels onward. All I want is to lean into the red cushions and let the sound of the horse hooves lull me to sleep. If only this carriage ride did not feel like the one 10 years ago, then I might be able to relax. For the 1000th time, I replay my first betrothal, walking into the cathedral, watching King Frederick lunge, and seeing Prince Jarek look up at me so betrayed. I search for the missing pieces while wishing I could skip the horrid ones. I will forever love my father for saving my life that day. No, not love. Everyone that I love dies. I will always adore him. Not that either, too similar. I will always admire him for saving me. Yes, admire. Miranchk, I say, trying the word in Toknovian. My tongue trips over itself, so I try it again. Or is it Miranchochku? Mistron stops mid-sentence. What are you babbling about? Me? Babbling? The woman has not stopped speaking, even though I quit responding. Apparently, I am no longer needed for our conversation. Nothing, I say. May I look outside now? No, the horses stink. I cock my head. Are you not curious to see Steinland before we leave it forever? You cannot even see. I scowl. That was not nice. Please, mistress. I will not even squint. If any mud gets... Yes, yes. Sitting forward, I pull aside the curtain. Gisela! How rarely she uses my Christian name. I turn back. You mustn't be seen, she says. It is not safe. Oh? And then I understand. Oh. My days of hiding are not over. I am leaving a land I do not know and people I have never met. Will I spend the rest of my life behind closed curtains? Some queens are never seen. At least I'll have my tutors with me in Tuknovia. Perhaps I can convince Master Neffin to start me on Greek to pass the time. These languages, I suddenly realize. All my tutors. You did not know which kingdom my father would align me with, so you made me learn several in preparation? Pray your accent is not so horrendous that King Luthar cannot understand you. If he even permits me to speak. But my mother came here without knowing Stein, I say. She learned well enough, although she always spoke with an accent. Your mother did not want you to struggle as she did. My brows lift. Mistram rarely speaks of my mother, even though they are both from Frisia. But before I can ask further, she grabs my cheeks and pushes my lips forward. Crisp consonants, crisp, crisp, crisp. Why, then, I say crisply, a bit tartly too, did Master Neffin continue teaching me after my betrothal with Kronga was served? Secretly, I am glad she never sent away Master Neffin. He has always been my favorite. Strangely, he never speaks of Queen Cilicia, bloodless Kristoff, or anything about where he came from, as if he does not wish to remember. I will be different. I will tell my sons and daughters of Steinland. We hit another bump, jarring the carriage. Mistram places a hand over her chest. Stop pestering me with frivolous questions so we can review the names of the courtiers before your debut. But I cannot stop, because I have a nagging suspicion. Will my tutors be joining us in Tuknovia? Why would they? She says. Why, indeed. My future is sealed. Silently, I mourn a few more goodbyes I was not given. As evening reaches the inside of our carriage, my back grows stiff. How does Mistram sit so straight? Women her age have permanently bent spines, but not even her bones are allowed to slouch. I stretch. Did my father summon Charlotte home for my betrothal? Is she also badgered with languages in anticipation of future alliances? I hope not. She is only 5, although I started earlier than that. I hope I'm permitted to hug little Charlotte. Mistram can hardly classify a hug as animal behavior since animals do not hug. That leaves me wondering what a hug feels like, and whether I will be able to hold back the tears when I meet my little sister for the first time. We are the last Reds, she and I. Turning, I realize she has not answered. Mistress? Princess Charlotte was killed with Arnbjorn, she says. Their bodies were found together. What? For the first time all day, Mistram grows silent, her face barely visible in the darkening carriage. I cannot get enough air in my lungs to press for more. Dead. They are both dead. Why did she not mention this? Did Charlotte mean nothing to her? To the kingdom? I picture bloodless Kristoff's severed fingers squeezing the air from little sister's throat before ripping out her tiny heart. Goosebumps race across my skin. I clasp my hands to keep from screaming. I will never meet my only sister. I will not even be allowed to shed a tear for her. I am it. I am the last Red. I have one last wish, and as the night air cools to a crisp chill, I pray for it with my entire soul. That bloodless Kristoff is cut into 1,000 pieces, and that I may live to see it. I'm not sure when I dozed off. I had not even realized my eyes had shut until I hear the shouting. What was that? I say, startling awake. Mistram sniffs loudly as if waking herself. One of the soldiers must have... The dark carriage jerks suddenly forward, throwing us back into the cushions. "Go, go, go!" someone shouts outside. Horses whinny and gallop forward, speeding us to a frightening pace. Someone shrieks. A soldier cries out in pain. Loud whirs fly around us, followed by frantic shouting. Arrows. I scream. So does Meestrom. Armor clinks and swords unsheath. But not until someone yells, "We're under attack!" do I fully understand. Then I cannot breathe. Bloodless Kristoff has found me at last.